Mr. Rhodes, what race do you self-identify yourself as?
African American.
What race do you associate with the most?
Caucasian.
What socioeconomic class are you?
Middle class.
How do you feel about the police?
Both negative and in a positive way. They're good for some things.
What are the negative aspects?
You know, being a black man in America, you know, there's some profiling goes on. You know, you don't get a fair shake, and sometimes it's bad out there.
What about the positive?
You know, they keep me from my house from getting robbed.
How many interactions have you had with the police?
Maybe 10, 15.
Were those interactions positive or negative?
Some were positive, some were negative.
What was the race of the police officer or officers who you had negative interactions with?
They were Caucasian.
What was the race of the police officer or officers you had positive interactions with?
They were African American.
What techniques have you used to get out of a ticket?
I just pay my tickets.
Have you ever felt like you have been personally profiled by the police?
No.
If you have been pulled over for a traffic offense, did the officer ask to search your vehicle for no apparent reason?
No.
What is your parents' highest level of education?
Master's degree. My mother.
Do you think your life would be different if you had been born a different race?
No.
How do you think your life would be different if you had been born a different race?
That's hard to say. I mean, because I interact with everybody pretty good. You know, my feeling is, you know, if you work hard, if you're nice to people, people are going to be nice to you, no matter what race you are.
How do you think your life would be different if you had been born into a different socioeconomic class?
I have me a jet, a couple big boats. You know, I'd be chilling in my mansion instead of out here slaving for the man. You know what I mean?
Have you ever felt that you did not get hired for a job because of your race?
No.
Last question. How do you feel about non-merit-based scholarships?
I think they're wrong. I mean, it's I think everybody should work hard for what they get, and in the USA, it's people that work hard that go the farthest. I mean, nobody should get nothing for free. I mean, that's not fair. I mean, you know, I get up every day, go to work, and work hard to earn. Anything should be awarded without merit.
What race do you self-identify yourself as?
White or Caucasian.
What race do you associate with the most?
The same.
What social economic class are you?
I would say middle class, upper middle class.
How do you feel about the police?
Indifferent.
How many interactions have you had with the police?
I'd say I've had about 6 interactions with speeding tickets of various traffic violations.
Were those interactions positive and negative, and do you remember the race of the police officer?
I'd say for the most part they were positive and ranging to neutral. And I would say that the majority of the officers with whom I interacted with were probably white.
What techniques have you used to get out of a ticket, and did it work?
I usually just acknowledge the fact that I was in the wrong, so no techniques.
Have you ever felt like you have been personally profiled by the police?
There was one incident where I was pulled over where I believe that the officer thought that I'd stolen my vehicle. I had a new car, and he didn't really have any grounds to pull me over, so that's the only time.
Have you ever been pulled over for a traffic offense and the officer asked to search your car for no apparent reason?
No.
What is your parents' highest level of education?
Both parents attended graduate school.
Do you have health insurance?
I do.
Alright. Do you think your life would have been different if you had been born in a different race, or how do you think that life would be different?
I think it would have been dramatically different, but it also, I think, matters socioeconomics of the family. If I had a family, it's a complex question.
How do you think your life would be different if you had been born into a different social and economic class?
It would have been dramatically different if... that's the best I can answer that. I mean,
Have you ever felt that you did not get hired because of your race?
no.
How do you feel about the non-merit-based scholarships?
I have very mixed feelings. I think there's some historic issues involved. I also think that if the historic issues have been resolved, that we should move to more equal-based scholarship.
What race do you self-identify yourself as?
African American.
What race do you associate with the most?
African Americans, and the reason being because I feel a lot more comfortable being around my own.
Okay.
I don't have to worry about anybody judging me.
Okay. What social economic class are you?
Middle class.
Okay. How do you feel about police?
I feel like there are people who are chosen to do a job, but a lot of people are not doing what they're supposed to do because they are judging people because of the color of their skin.
Okay.
And so, me personally, I think the police can do a better job.
How many interactions have you had with the police?
Oh, several since I've been here. I've been pulled over because what I drive, and I've been pulled over because...
Would you say the majority of those were positive or negative?
Negative.
Negative?
Very negative.
Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
I can elaborate on that because one day I was riding my Harley-Davidson motorcycle.
Okay.
And the police pulled me over. And I was like, why are you pulling me over? And he said, I'm pulling you over because the law requires for you to have a helmet.
Okay.
But in the state of Texas, you're not required to have a helmet. And I feel like he was discriminating against me because what I was riding. And I asked him why, and he just made up this excuse. Well, I'll pull you over because I wanted to check your helmet and see what type of helmet you had. And I felt he was discriminating because of what I was riding.
What was the race of this police officer?
Caucasian.
Going with the police angle, what techniques have you used to get out of a ticket?
Prayer, kindness.
Did they work?
Yes, it really works. And the reason I say it works because with kindness kills all anger, all bitterness. Then once you're kind to an individual and they see that you're not on the level they want you to be on, then you reverse the roles, then they begin to respect you because you're kind.
Okay.
So that's how I pretty much get out of different conflicts. You know, when the police officer pulled me over, and I just treat him with kindness.
Have you ever felt that you've been personally profiled by the police?
Personally, yes, because of color of my skin. It goes on every day, everywhere. Not only in America, but all over the world.
If you've been pulled over for a traffic offense, did the officer ask to search your vehicle for no apparent reason?
That never happened to me, but I have heard happening to other individuals because when I look on the, when I'm driving on the expressway, I see the individuals being pulled over, and immediately I see the police go into the back of their car and searching their cars. And I had a couple of friends say when the police pulled them over, the first thing they want to do is search their vehicles.
What is your parents' highest level of education?
My parents' highest level of education was high school.
Do you have health insurance?
Yes.
Do you think your life would be different if you had been born a different race?
Most definitely.
How do you think your life would be different if you had been born a different race?
Because from my experience, you know, my past experience, and right now I begin to observe different things going on in this world. And I have noticed that, you know, when a Caucasian brother he has more opportunities. And I think they have more opportunity because of the color of their skin. And they find favor with one another. And it basically what it boils down to, it still boils down to the color of our skin. Because of the color of our skin, certain doors are going to be closed. Because of the color of our skin, certain doors are going to be open. And a lot of doors have been opened just because of the color of their skin.
How do you think your life would be different if you had been born into a different social economic class?
How could my life be different? Very good question. I would say more opportunity. Because with a different social economic class, different levels, you're dealing with different people. Because things begin to change. It depends on your environment. And so if I was in a middle class economic environment, I have a better opportunity to live a peaceful life because where I live. So it really depends on where you live.
Have you ever felt that you did not get a job because of your race?
I never experienced that before. No.
Anything work related?
But I would like to say this. I have not been promoted because of my race. And I have experienced that in the past. Because an individual came in from outside of the company and I had more experience. And they hired this individual and had no experience at all. Then I had to train him. And why? Because of favoritism. Why? Because of the color of his skin, the door was open, a door and opportunity was opened up for him because the Caucasians owned the company and they brought in another Caucasian, which was promoted over me, who didn't have no experience at all, and I had to train him.
Last question for this documentary, or interview rather. How do you feel about non-merit-based scholarships?
I feel if you have the talents, the gifts, and the abilities, the scholarship should be there.
What race do you identify yourself as?
Black and white.
What race do you associate with the most?
White.
What socioeconomic class are you?
Middle class.
How do you feel about police?
They're pretty chill for the most part.
How many interactions have you had with the police?
Quite a few.
Were those interactions positive or negative?
A mixture of both.
What was the race of the police officer or officers who you have had a negative interaction with?
Hispanic.
What was the race of a police officer or officers who you have had positive interactions with?
Caucasian.
What techniques have you used to get out of a ticket?
I've never used any techniques.
Have you ever felt you've been personally profiled by the police?
Not really.
If you have been pulled over for a traffic offense, did the officer ask to search your vehicle for no apparent reason?
No, it's never happened.
What is your parents' highest level of education?
My mom has a master's degree.
Do you have health insurance?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think your life would be different if you had been born a different race?
Yes.
How so?
If I were born one specific race and not, I'm multiracial. If I were just one race, I think that I would be more accepted by people.
How do you think your life would be different if you had been born into a different socioeconomic class?
If I were lower class, I think that I wouldn't have had the same opportunities, that I have now. And I think that if I were upper class, then I still wouldn't have the same opportunities. I think I would have been spoiled and I wouldn't have appreciated those opportunities that my mom has sacrificed her, everything for, and I wouldn't be the person that I am right now.
Have you ever felt that you did not get hired for a job because of your race?
No.
Okay, so our last question here to wrap up the interview. How do you feel about non-merit-based scholarships?
I actually had a non-merit-based scholarship. It was, my mom works for a school district, and so it was, if you're a teacher's kid, then you get $1,000. And so, I appreciated that. That helped me out with my first year of college. But I think things as far as like physical characteristics or races and ethnicities, I don't agree with that.
What race do you self-identify yourself as?
I self-identify myself as a Caucasian.
What race do you associate with the most?
I associate with Caucasians the most.
And what social economic class are you?
I am a middle class.
How do you feel about the police?
I think the police are good and needed.
How many interactions have you had with the police?
I have had countless interactions with the police because my dad is a cop.
Were those interactions positive or negative, and what was the race of the officer?
The interactions are both positive and negative. He's helped me out a lot, but he's also grounded me a lot, and he is also Caucasian.
What techniques have you used to get out of a ticket?
I have pulled my daddy card out a lot to get out of a ticket. My dad's badge and ID is photocopied onto my insurance card, so whenever I do get pulled over and they ask for my insurance, they automatically see my dad as a cop and they let me go.
And have you ever felt like you've been personally profiled by the police?
No, I've never felt personally profiled by the police.
If you have been pulled over for a traffic offense, did the officer ask to search your vehicle for no apparent reason?
No, they've never asked to search my vehicle.
And what is your parents' highest level of education?
My dad graduated high school, went to the military, and then became a cop. So I guess high school would be his. And I think he did some college, though. And my mom has her real estate license, her broker license, and her bachelor's in humanities.
And do you have health insurance?
I do have very good health insurance.
Do you think your life would be different if you were born in a different race?
Yes, I do think my life would be different if I was born in a different race.
How do you think it would be different?
I don't think I would get away with as much as I get away with, and I don't think I would have the things that I have and get them as easily.
Have you ever felt that you did not get hired for a job because of your race?
No, I have never felt like I didn't get hired for a job because of my race.
Okay, and how do you feel about non-merit-based scholarships?
I think non-merit-based scholarships are good for the people who do get them because they do need them, but then I think it's unfair to the people who don't qualify for them who do need them too.
All right, thank you.
You are welcome.
Hello, my name is Steve Bethay. Currently work here at Gray Bar Electric. I'm in an outside sales rep position, and I'm conducting a interview with Kyle Faulkner.
Mr. Bethay, what race do you self-identify yourself as?
I guess white Anglo-American.
What race do you associate with the most?
I'd probably say the white Anglo-American.
What social economic class are you?
Middle class.
How do you feel about police?
I feel they're obviously necessary, and I have no ill feelings toward police officers.
How many interactions have you had with the police?
I would say I'm no angel, but I would say a very limited interaction with police directly.
Were those interactions positive or negative?
I guess in the limited interactions I've had, I'd say both positive and negative.
What was the race of the police officer or officers who you had negative interactions with?
To be honest with you, I cannot remember having any interaction with any other police officer other than, I guess, white Anglo.
What was the race of the police officer or officers you had positive interactions with?
Like I said, it would have to be white Anglo police officers, since that's basically all I've ever really encountered.
What techniques have you used to get out of a ticket?
I haven't really gotten out of any ticket. I think I got out of one time, and that was just by being telling the truth. I was extremely late to something that was an emergency.
Have you ever felt like you have been personally profiled by the police?
No, I haven't.
If you have ever been pulled over for a traffic offense, did the officer ask to search your vehicle for no apparent reason?
One time in a county out in West Texas, but it was late at night, and I guess they might have thought that I was drinking or something.
What is your parents' highest level of education?
Master's degree.
Do you think your life would be different if you had been born a different race?
Yes.
How do you think your life would be different if you had been born a different race?
I think there's obvious reasons. I think a lot of that goes into, socialism. I don't know the specifics, but it'd be almost the same question as asking if your life would be different if you were born in a small town versus a big city.
How do you think your life would be different if you had been born into a different social economic class?
Pretty much the same. I mean, it's just a matter of a lot of times, my perspective is a lot of times you're a product of your environment.
Have you ever felt that you did not get hired for a job because of your race?
No.
Last question. How do you feel about non-merit-based scholarships?
What's the definition of merit? Meaning you deserve it?
Yes, sir. Based on, there's some scholarships that are for redheads or for specifically Native Americans or etc.
I would imagine there's probably pros and cons to both, but I would revert back to if you do something extra to work to deserve that and not just handed to you, then I would be for it.
All right. Thank you for your time, Mr. Pate.
You're welcome.
Alright, recording. Okay. What race do you self-identify yourself as?
Well, that's an interesting question since I'm multiracial. I really don't identify myself as one race particularly, and sometimes I'll change it up depending on the situation. But, yeah.
What race do you associate with the most?
I wouldn't say that I couldn't say I don't keep track of how many white friends I have, or like 75 white friends versus 25 black friends.
What social economic class are you?
I would say I'm middle class. I come from a middle class family. I probably live below the poverty line now as a college student.
How do you feel about the police?
I'm in the criminal justice. I'm a criminal justice major, so I kind of understand better than most people where they're coming from, but kind of a drag most times.
How many interactions have you had with the police?
More than I would like to have. Probably five interactions that I could recall offhand.
What were those interactions positive or negative? And do you remember the race of the police officer?
Yeah, like 4 of those interactions were negative. 1 was positive, and it's pretty interesting. Like most of the times I've had interactions with the police, they've tended to be minorities. Very few times have they been white people. So it's pretty interesting.
What techniques have you? What techniques have you used to get out of a ticket, or have you?
I've never gotten out of a ticket, ever.
Have you tried?
I don't. No. I try to keep those interactions as short as possible.
Have you felt like you've been profiled by the police?
On one occasion, yeah. One occasion.
If you have been pulled over for a traffic offense, did the officers ask to search your vehicle for no apparent reason?
Yeah. I would say the reason that they asked to look through my car is because of what I look like.
What was your parents' highest level of education?
Both of my parents are college graduates.
Do you have health insurance?
Yeah, through the military.
Do you think your life would be different if you had been born a different race? Or do you think your life would have been different if you had... Same question again. You think your life would be different if you were born a different race?
Yeah, I think that if I was born one particular race instead of many races, I think my life would have been different, or a different set of races. It's interesting how much that plays into your life.
How do you think your life would be different in a different social economic class?
Probably wouldn't have joined the military. It would have been vastly different. I think that I would have been had more privileges and more opportunities to do different things, or to fart around and backpack through Europe if my parents were richer or whatever.
Have you felt you did not get hired because of your race for a job ever?
No, I think that in the private sector, that I don't think that race plays as much of it's not as much of an issue like when being hired.
How do you feel about non-merit-based scholarships?
I think they serve a purpose. There's definitely a gap in income between different races, and there's definitely a gap in opportunity between different races, and I think that non-merit-based scholarships provide a bridge between the levels of achievement between the races. So.